You're going to get them. For those that have just tuned in, we did have a slight technical issue that seems to have alleviated itself now. It's been worked out. But the game was played for about 2 minutes before. One of our runners was running at about 30 frames per second instead of the usual 60. So things looked a little interesting. So hey, we have this first chest again, which has a 10 arrow pickup.
And that was a capacity upgrade, not a pickup.
Yes. My apologies.
Early.
But this looks much better so far. We are on our way. We wish them both luck. And we thank all of you for taking time out of your night or evening or day or afternoon to join us.
Yes, I think this will be worth your while to stick around and watch for sure.
And as someone in chat is pointing out, I must apologize, I pronounced your name wrong moments after asking you how to pronounce it.
No worries, man.
My heartfelt apologies, my friend.
Alright, both racers have picked up the fighter sword and mirror shield and are heading for the castle now. You'll likely see both racers following a similar route through the castle because there's really only one route through the castle. The only difference being whether you pick up bombs or not. After they leave, they may start to deviate, depending on what they find in here.
Bombs are going to be something that we may see them kill a lot of enemies for or try to farm for, because the end of escape has a room that is only accessible through bombs or bonking with the boots. So unless you happen to find the boots early on in escape, which would be fantastic in any seed, our runners are going to want to try to find a bomb. And the way that they could do that, in this version of the randomizer, the prize packs on enemies are different, the prize packs being what they drop. So we could wind up getting a lot of bomb drops, and we have one right now, MrWunder.
Yes, MrWunder just found a bomb drop.
DarkCucco needs to be a little careful. It's down to half a heart already. You just picked up one under the pot, though.
Finding a bomb drop early is good because you do not need to waste any more time killing any inessential enemies. You can just focus on getting through.
The thing I might add to that, if you know which enemy dropped the bomb, you can always try to kill several more of that type, because early in Kakariko, it's pretty useful to have at least another 3.
Yes, that's correct. There are lots of bombable walls with items hidden behind them shortly after leaving the castle. So any more you can find would help for sure.
So proceeding down into the ball and chain guard room, it gives some people a little bit of trouble. I won't mention any names though, but my commentator friend might know somebody. It is not unheard of to die down there. It's a little bit of an intimidating fight if you choose not to use one of the pots and only your sword, because his ball will do a full heart of damage.
It's DarkCucco opting to grab one of the pots, which is a safer strat. Deals a lot of damage against most enemies. The pots will do the same damage as a hit from the level 3 tempered sword. They're very strong, but of course it takes a little time to go out of your way to grab one.
Nicely done though by both of our runners in these early couple of moments with the chance of injury from the ball and chain guard. They handled it well, and they're moving back up through the basement of the castle and eventually up into the throne room, where they will slide a pedestal out of the way and get back into the sewers.
It looks like DarkCucco has found a bomb along the way. So each runner has one bomb, which they will be saving for the wall up ahead.
And we hope there's something very useful back there. And this was a game released in 1991, and it is still as popular. You know, I can't say. I don't have a clue how popular it was back then. I was 1 year old. But it is extremely popular now by the standards of a game that is 26 years old.
And certainly hacks such as the randomizer play a big part in that.
Certainly. You know, the sound of a vanilla game to some people may not be that appealing, but when you throw a little twist on it like this, suddenly it piques their interest. They're like, ooh, what's that? I want to give it a shot, see what this is all about. Everyone's talking about it. So as we're making our way through the remainder of the sewers, it appears MrWunder still only has the 2 bombs. He hasn't seen anything. I haven't actually seen which enemies were dropping bombs along the way. I don't know if you noticed that or not, Aaron.
I believe it was a green guard. I do
Okay.
not see MrWunder's second bomb pickup.
I believe the second one would have come from the capacity upgrade.
Ah, yes.
So,
Alright, so here's MrWunder has blown up the wall and is going to check the 3 chests on the other side. What do we have?
and we
Ooh,
have
the
one
hook
of
shot.
the most useful items in the game.
Yes, that
This-
opens up quite a bit of exploration later on.
Although minor glitches are allowed in these runs, they are intended to be beaten without the use of any glitches whatsoever. It is possible. So, that being said, the hookshot is one of the only items that is required in every seed, regardless of dungeon arrangement. A couple others being the bow, of course the moon pearl, but that one may go without saying.
Yes, and finding such a crucial item early on is always good to see in a randomizer.
Without any doubt on that. That's also going to make their overworld movement a little bit more optimal, because there are a lot of things that the hookshot can stick to and pull itself into. So while they don't have the boots, we might see our runners taking advantage of that where they're able to. Trees, for example, are very possible.
It looks like MrWunder is taking the usual route out of escape by going north to check the lumberjack cave.
And what you just saw him did, pulling on that tree, there's a couple of varying circumstances for it, but there's certain trees and objects in the game that if you pull on, they will spit out 4 of one kind of item. And certain situations, like if you wind up killing several enemies, I believe it's 4 without taking damage, and then pull on it again, it might be a little bit different.
That's correct. And it looks like the lumberjack cave has 50 rupees, which is not very important. The reason that they check that is because to get that item, you need to defeat Aghanim. So if you see something important there, you know that you are going to have to eventually do that dungeon and fight that boss. And DarkCucco is doing the same thing, seeing the 50 rupees, and heading out.
It's a very smart thing to do. It's good of both runners to head that way. Some runners will take a save and quit immediately out of the sanctuary and start from Link's house and head down to the dam and the Maldrum cave near Lake Hylia. Neither runner did that in this case, so it'll be interesting to see where they first deviate in their paths. I did notice a moment ago that MrWunder had his map open. I was able to catch that the Eastern Palace is crystal number 1, but that was the only dungeon that I was able to see on my own.
Yes, unfortunately, naturally the runners want to open the map, see what they want to see, and close the map as soon as possible, which makes it kind of hard for us to do an analysis of the map while they have it open.
So as I had mentioned, all of our runners, or both of our runners I should say, are going to need to get all 7 of the crystals, although we don't know for sure where they are. Curious to know, though, where crystals 5 and 6 are, because those will open the location of the big bomb to allow access to the Fat Fairy, as well as the green pendant for Sahasrarla's item. But the other 2 pendant locations may be interesting to know as well, should our runners need to check the Master Sword pedestal, which we may get to much later on. That does not happen too often, which everybody's happy about. But it makes for a very interesting race when suddenly everybody has to clear every dungeon. And unfortunately, DarkCucco does not have any bombs, so he's going to have to go and buy a few before he can check any of the houses in North Kakariko. Fortunately, he had the money. The downside is that now he does not have enough money to see what the bottle vendor is selling.
Yes, that might be an unfortunate loss of time, because he might have to come back later. Wow.
Well,
the level 4 sword was being sold by the bottle vendor. That's going to hurt.
We really hope that he finds those rupees in the near future. Well, he found the comfort sword, so that's actually not so bad. Kakariko is apparently the armory of this game now. Good for him. Obviously, the buttered sword, wow, the butter sword, it could be buttered too. You could slather it on there and be just fine. Little Land O'Lakes love, but it's obviously a better sword than the tempered sword, although both provide a huge offensive advantage this early on.
Yes. Certainly, the difference between the level 3 and level 4 sword is not as stark as the difference between the level 2 and level 3, or the level 1 and level 3 even. But it is certainly an advantage, especially in boss fights such as Trinex and Ganon late in the game.
Absolutely. Even Vitreous, if you happen to run low on arrows. But pleased to see that there's nothing more than a heart container in the library, so we will not need to get back there, and a heart piece in the sign maze. 2 locations that you don't want to have to come back and check if you don't need to.
Yes, so it's good that MrWunder went there and ruled out those locations so that you won't have to waste time going there in the future.
Indeed. So the way that the game works is I see a question asking, the boots cannot be in the library. The randomizer is coded and programmed in such a way that items cannot be in accessible spots. Everything will be beatable essentially without glitches. And real quick, MrWunder using a nice hookshot strategy when he pushed that block to access that chest nice and early, instead of pushing 2 out of the way. So you might be wondering, well, what if we get a seed that's broken and does have an item in an inaccessible spot? And the short answer to that is it's very unlikely. The developers for the randomizer have put in countless hours, blood, sweat, and tears looking for situations like that and immediately fixing them whenever something comes up.
Yes, I believe that in the current version of the randomizer, no soft lockable seed has been found yet.
However, with the number of seeds that we're going to see over the next month or so, I'm personally hoping to find something because I would love to see just what crazy concoction of a seed there would be that has it be unbeatable. Not that I want them to have to do more work, but it's a guilty curiosity of mine, I will admit.
MrWunder checking out the 5-item cave southwest of Lake Hylia. Unfortunately, there was nothing all that good in there. The blue mail is great, but you already have the red mail, so it does nothing for you.
Unfortunately, they do not stack. You cannot layer up and stay nice and cozy warm in this game. You have 1 set of clothes that you can wear, and that's it.
You wouldn't want to make it too difficult for Link to move around.
No, his mobility could easily be restricted. He needs to be very limber and flexible.
It's a good thing that we have the red mail too, because early on in the game, when you only have a few heart containers, those crab enemies can be very scary. Because with your default green armor, they will take out 2 full hearts of damage if you touch them.
Mm-hmm. I've died on them plenty of times, and most runners have, I would assume.
I certainly have.
DarkCucco really just on the heels of MrWunder by a minute or so. Just following through, checking these same spots, because at this point in the game, that's really about all they can do. And with their current item combinations, there's really not much else other than the early accessible overworld chests. They can't access Death Mountain yet. Certainly no Dark World. Too early to consider that. There is one other thing that they might be able to do that we'll see how soon anyone may consider.
MrWunder pulling off a successful fake flippers glitch. Oh, he found the hammer on the floating island in Lake Hylia. That's going to be important to come back later and get, but it requires the mirror and access to the Dark World.
And I have to wonder if it might actually require the flippers, because I don't know if you can use the mirror when you're actually swimming. Because if you fake flipper and you get into that spot where you mirror from, you won't actually be standing on that piece of ground. Or lighter water, I should say.
I believe you may be correct about that, but the fake flippers allowing MrWunder to find the power glove early without the flippers, which will help quite a lot. The power glove gives him access to Death Mountain. Once he gets into Desert Palace, that would allow him to finish it if need be. It's a very useful item to have.
Although, unfortunately, without the mirror, he may only be able to check 2 locations on Death Mountain, but we see him heading, presumably, to Sahasrar's house at the moment. There's a back room there that has 3 treasure chests in it. And then I'll be curious to see if maybe he heads over to Eastern and checks a couple of chests there quickly.
Yes, there will always be at least 2 items you can get in Eastern with no further help. If you have the bow, you can fight the boss, who might have the 3rd item. Oh, a very valuable cave here. You found the ocarina or the flute. That will unlock fast travel once he takes it to the village. And he also found the mushroom. The mushroom can be traded at the witch's hut for a random item.
So DarkCucco taking a different path right now. It seems he may not know the fake flippers glitch, or does not want to try it this early. However, he is seeing the hammer on that island in Lake Hylia, and surely planning his next move. With his current item setup, heading to the Eastern Palace area, he's probably going to check the back of Sahasrar's house as well, find the flute himself, and I suspect we may see a very similar path for the next few minutes still. I was curious before with the Butter Sword to see if anybody might head up to Aghanim, just in case that one item that they need might be on the pyramid. But I think they have a few more options before they can consider checking that.
Yes, just as in vanilla, Aghanim's tower is protected by a barrier that you need to cut open with the Master Sword or better. However, if you have the magic cape, you can also use that to sneak right on by and get in with just the level 1 sword.
And so there have been some seeds where you exhaust your few overworld locations, but you have the cape or you have a stronger sword, and you wind up going through the Aghanim dungeon to find, for example, the Moon Pearl on the pyramid. It does happen from time to time, although it's not terribly common.
Alright, MrWunder about to get an item in return for rescuing the old man from the cave. It's a heart piece. Not so exciting, unfortunately. But that could save your life later in a dungeon if you have very little health and find the 4th heart piece, which automatically refills your entire life bar. DarkCucco is getting his duck friend as well to unlock fast travel.
So MrWunder, checking out Death Mountain, finds the lantern inside Spectacle Rock.
And I assume, yes, he's going to go and pick it up.
And that's certainly a smart decision. I can't even think of a reason, short of Tear bribing him, for him to not go up there right away.
Yes, I believe MrWunder, from what I've seen, could do dark rooms without the lamp, but even then, it's important to pick it up because you can light torches with it, and you don't know if you're going to get the fire rod anytime soon.
Absolutely. You need to have a fire source, a viable fire source. So interesting still that DarkCucco would be right on the heels. They may be following each other for yet another few minutes, but MrWunder is presently making his way to Eastern Death Mountain, where there are another handful of items that he can check. However, unless he finds the Moon Pearl, it is a very limited amount.
Yes, if the Moon Pearl is not found soon, it will be interesting to see how the runners deal with that, because we're starting to get to the point where there are some forks in the routing road that they could take. MrWunder currently checking the Eastern Death Mountain caves, which have 7 items in these caves in total, and then an 8th one at the end of Spiral Cave, so a very common area for runners to check as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Then with the Power Glove and plenty of rupees. Ooh, the Book of Medora is a fantastic find. It is very possible that MrWunder could decide to head over to the Zora area after this. Bombo's medallion as well, although we don't know which medallions, if any, are required. So DarkCucco following behind, he's picking up the lantern right this moment. He's gonna save and quit. Oh, he's not even gonna go and check out Eastern Death Mountain.
Ooh, and he doesn't know that, but we know that may... Oh, he's actually going to save and quit back to the mountain cave, and...
I stand corrected. And I'm happy to.
Yes.
Looks like 20 rupees up on the floating island, not a big deal.
I do not know whether or not that saves time, saving and quitting instead of walking back and jumping down to this point, but it's not a huge difference either way.
It's hard to say. Whichever one is, it's not going to be by more than a few seconds for a casual, or possibly even for a experienced player. Short of having the Pegasus boots to dash fully. I don't remember the last time I heard anybody refer to them by their full name as the Pegasus boots. So there you go. We can mark that down in randomizer history, I guess.
The spiral cave, which unfortunately takes some time, and he finds only an arrow capacity upgrade at the end of it. But he is calling the duck and making his next move.
And it's an interesting move.
He has found the cane.
Could pay off. I must admit, I'm a little confused as to why he's not heading straight in to get that and then go and check this cave on the east. He's gonna have to trek all the way back there now. And again, the Cane of Samaria may not be required, although there's one instance, like if the big key happens to be on the right side of Ganon's tower, you do not want to not have the Cane of Samaria.
I'm sure he'll pick it up right after this, though. He finds a bottle preloaded with a bee.
He's quite the experienced player, so I'm sure he's got it all planned out in his mind.
At the very least, this early in the game, the cane will not save a whole lot of time. So it may not matter that he's getting it after checking that cave.
It may not. You could be correct. It's interesting to note that it's in the same immediate area as one of the races just before this. It was in the big chest of the Desert Palace.
So as MrWunder opens the Desert Palace, DarkCucco is checking the witch's item, which he traded the mushroom for, and it is also only an arrow capacity upgrade, which he is not even going to waste the time picking up.
No. Not at all a bad idea to go and do that, though. With the flute, you've got an option to head straight there, so there's essentially no time wasted. That'll surely be a spot that MrWunder checks relatively soon, I would have to guess. You don't want to hold on to the mushroom too long. It could be something you need.
DarkCucco entering Desert Palace as well. Both racers will be in the same dungeon for a time.
There's not a whole lot that
Unfortunately,
they can do there. It'll be a get the Cane of Samaria and go strategy for the moment.
yes. Unfortunately, without the boots, it is impossible to dislodge that big key. So they are stuck in terms of progress. I guess it is possible that MrWunder might go ahead into the second part, grab a small key, and come back to check the east side chests. We'll have to see the ops to do that.
Certainly not a bad idea, but he's not. With the ability to check another 2 chests by grabbing a small key from the second half, you never know what you could find.
He's going to show the bottle to the sick kid and get his item, which is a heart container.
I just have to ask, going back and forth watching the 2 broadcasts, where did he find the bottle? I must have missed it when I was checking out DarkCucco's for a moment.
The bottle was in Ajina's cave, east of the Desert Palace.
Ah, yes, which I did not see DarkCucco check yet, I believe.
Yes, he has not, as far as I know.
MrWunder says, I want that 5-arrow increase. I don't care that it's only 5 arrows, I want it. Certainly won't be a bad thing to have. Deciding where to head next, it appears he's going to make a trek through the Eastern Palace. He's already checked the Sahasrara back room. So his only other option in going here would be to check the few chests that are within. Couple of quick items that he can get. I believe there are 3 unique items within the dungeon.
Another option he might have is to go fight Aghanim and enter the Dark World with his with the gold sword, he'll be able to get past the barrier and at least check the pyramid spot.
That is very true as well.
And DarkCucco checking out Ajina's cave and getting the bottle as well.
I never knew that cave had a name.
Yeah, it's the name of the guy who lives there.
Ah. I don't recall the last time that I played this game in English, due to the Japanese version, of course, having some exclusive glitches present within it.
Alright, MrWunder has found one of the Eastern Palace's 3 items so far, and it was a heart piece.
And if the Eastern Palace does not pay off for MrWunder at the moment, DarkCucco may in fact have some advantage in that he is going to check Aghanim's tower.
Yep, here is our first big divergence, besides DarkCucco skipping the east side of Death Mountain. This might end up being huge, we will have to see.
Well, the only real thing that MrWunder has that DarkCucco does not would be the Power Glove, as a result of MrWunder using the fake flippers glitch. We did not see DarkCucco do that. Still unknown whether or not he doesn't know how or didn't feel it appropriate at the time. Every run is a little bit different about it. There's a lot of different strategies involved in playing these games.
Alright, and the second item in Eastern Palace is a full heart container.
That big key at this point is guaranteed to be in that last chest after that slight dark room. The question remains, though, what is in the big chest? It could be one of the dungeon items, whether it be the compass or the map. I don't know which of the two he might have already. It would be the compass,
because the map has already been found.
Very good. Or we could get quite the upset and have it be the bow. We'll find out in just a moment. For those of you that may be just tuning in, this is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament for 2017. Quite the number of people tuning in for these, quite the number of people signed up, over 100 entrants, I believe. And over the course of the next month, perhaps a little bit longer, we will be here bringing you nothing but Zelda Randomizer. And we hope you enjoy it as much as we do. Progressing on through the Eastern Palace, MrWunder is about to open the big chest, hoping it's a useful item, and it's only 20 rupees. You might be able to buy a pack of bubblegum with that, but all the shops in Hyrule are sold out at the moment. Aghanim bought the last supply. He really likes his trident. Or that would have been Ganon, I suppose, buying all the trident.
MrWunder fluting to Lake Hylia. What is he planning on doing? He's doing fake flippers. He's going to go check Zora. Going to try and buy the item from Zora to see what he is holding.
Not a bad idea, although I have to wonder why, just in terms of safety, I mean, he made it, but just in terms of safety, it might have been better to take the flute up to the witch's hut. But now that he's back on dry land, he does not have a risk of any insta-death.
DarkCucco entering Aghanim's chamber now. The mirror is there, but unfortunately he cannot get it yet because he does not have real flipper. They've been pretending.
That is one of the trolliest spots to have the mirror, in my opinion. Finding the flippers is no easy task, although I must admit I will silently chuckle a bit if we wind up finding the flippers on the pyramid. It's interesting in our standpoint, being able to see where everything is and know what the players don't. Just how interesting their gameplays are going to turn out as a result.
Zora sells MrWunder a bottle with a fairy inside. I'm sure that is not what he is hoping to find, but it's always good to have more safeties.
Certainly.
And it looks like MrWunder is going to Aghanim's tower to beat him up and take his bubblegum.
Such a shame. Hopefully it's the flavor that he's hoping for. And hopefully he doesn't end up with another unfortunate death. Although with the red mail, and the Butter Sword, he should be just fine. And we're about to see the bunny track down the pyramid. Interesting to note that when you don't have the Moon Pearl, clearing Aghanim does not heal you.
Fortunately,
my
that won't matter. Wow, you called it, sir.
Did I not say that? That might be the most psychic thing I've ever done. Purely accidental, of course. So now that we know that, DarkCucco could have the advantage. Without having the Power Glove, that really hasn't held him back so much.
Yes, neither racer has been stumped yet,
So his first stop clearly is going to be to go and check the hobo. He's going to find the Power Glove, and then I presume he may make his way down to that warp and head back up and grab the mirror and be just ahead of MrWunder. This will open up a little bit more on Death Mountain. They have a fire source. They'll be able to take care of Hour of Hera as we progress. I believe it was only 3 bombs on top of Spectacle Rock, so not a huge deal there. So yeah, we will see. Does he know to go down and hit that whirlpool? I would imagine so, but if not, a quick flute ride up to the witch's hut will make short work of the adventure that he's on at the moment.
given that he did not save and quit, nor take the opportunity to flute in the shallow water right next to the bridge, I'm sure he is going for the warp.
Excellent observation. That blew right by me. And indeed he did. So he'll be obtaining the mirror in mere moments. Odd word choice. That was purely accidental as well. And also getting this bottled fairy. He does have 566 rupees, and he must have quite the sigh of relief walking by that mirror right now, seeing that it's within his grasp.
For sure. He knows now that he made the right choice going to fight Aghanim early.
So it, to my knowledge, only opens up the one thing. Without the Moon Pearl, they can't explore much of the Dark World, but they can at least get up to the Tower of Hera. And with the Book of Medora, they can also check the tablet.
Right, so
that
that
become
is
even more interesting.
3 items that they can find, plus the bombs on top of Spectacle Rock.
Mm-hmm.
If they find something useful in that dungeon, they may know where to go next.
Absolutely. And there's only 2 items within Tower of Hera itself, but we can bet that he's going to head up there, and MrWunder, I presume, is going to find the flippers and immediately make a beeline back to the Zora and grab that mirror that he so sadly could not get the first time. I haven't noticed, Aaron, I don't know if you have. If either player has opened up the map again, I would like to see what these other 2 Light World dungeons contain.
I do not believe either of them have since that first time.
The only map we've seen is the flight menu.
MrWunder going to pick up the flippers now.
What Cucco might be doing at this point, he knows that he needs the boots in order to get the big key. I'll be curious to see what he's up to.
He may be doing what I suggested earlier, which was to grab a small key from the second half of Desert to check the chests on the right. But it's interesting that he went so far out of his way to do that.
That's what I'm thinking. That would have been a very ideal thing to do right away if you were going to do it at all.
I hope he has not forgotten that the door to Lanmola is guarded by a big key door.
And that does happen from time to time, though.
It certainly happened to me that I've got right up to the end of that dungeon and realized I did not have either the big key or sometimes the lamp or fire rod to light the torches.
I'm guilty of that myself once or twice.
We'll see what he does here.
Too soon to tell for another few seconds, but if he doesn't turn right around, he is going on.
Oh, no.
So he will be in for an unpleasant awakening in a matter of a minute or so.
That is quite unfortunate.
MrWunder picking up his fabulous mirror, which he's going to use to head up to Death Mountain in just a moment. Saying hi to his old man friend again.
Just like in vanilla, the old man will heal your HP if you talk to him, and unlike the vanilla, you can say anything while he does it, so it wastes very little time.
No, that's one of the interesting points about the randomizer, is that a lot of the quote-unquote unnecessary... Wow, what did that sign ever do to MrWunder? He seemed very aggressive with it. A lot of the quote-unquote useless text in this game has been removed. Certain fields of text that have been left in have been edited to provide some humor, such as the blind puns, the uncle text in the beginning. Even what Ganon says when you first see him would kind of make you scratch your head if you weren't expecting it.
MrWunder making his way to the Tower of Hera right now.
Checking the tablet first, while it seems DarkCucco is going to check the Eastern Palace, which, as we recall from MrWunder, may have yielded a piece of heart or a heart container, but nothing more.
MrWunder has
just
found the
struck
Moon
gold,
Pearl.
finding the Moon Pearl. Such a great find. It seems like this is becoming at least at this point, a fairly linear route for him, but I shouldn't speak too soon, because neither runner has a crystal yet. Almost 37 minutes into this, so anything could happen still. It is not too soon, or not too soon to rule anything out.
So now I believe the item that the runners are looking for the most is probably the hammer.
Which, as Chad is pointing out, actually is accessible for MrWunder right this moment. Although it's a little bit obscure.
Because we already know where it is.
Normally to go south from Hyrule, I can't call it Hyrule Field, I suppose. Toward Lake Hylia, though, there's purple posts that you would need the hammer to pound in. However, in the Dark World, right near the Hobo Bridge, there's a staircase that will take you down. And from there, he could swim around and be just fine. I'm going to refresh my stream, though. My MrWunder side has completely frozen up, and I'm hoping that it was...
I am seeing the same thing, so I do not believe it is on your end.
Hopefully his stream is not having issues, and it just went dark. That's not good, but I see a 4F, so he's on the 4th floor somewhere? Nice Stalfos room by DarkCucco. Getting the invisible ones with the pots. Okay, so MrWunder's stream is back. And in the meantime, he must have checked a couple of chests in Hera that we did not see because he came upstairs and they are already open. So unfortunately, we'll have to wait for the pause menu to come up before we know what's in them. He did get something indeed. Very quick Maldorm fight, thanks to cholesterol.
Yes.
Yielding the Ether Medallion.
We do not know yet whether or not that will be required or even helpful, but it's good to have nonetheless. He finds the Pendant of Courage, which he can go show to Sahasrara for his item.
Now, always a curiosity to see what he's going to have. And in a dungeon like Hera, it's not a bad idea to just knock it out. It's not terribly long. As you saw, the boss only takes 2 hits with the Butter Sword. So it's certainly not a bad move for a potentially unrequired dungeon, nonetheless.
However, he is going back to check out the basement because you must know that there is another item there that he did not get. runners of the randomizer will usually memorize the number of non-dungeon specific items that they can find in every dungeon. Chris must have not found any besides the ether from the boss, so he's going to get the second one now.
Yep, that's my thought as well. Interesting use of B-strats on these flying tiles.
Can't say I've seen that before.
No, but it's quite amusing. So yes, with MrWunder's logic at this point, knowing that he had completed Hera, he had the map and the compass, but there was one chest remaining, so it must be some sort of otherwise usable item, and in this case it was.
That was
Titan's Mitt is going to open up quite a bit for him having the Moon Pearl. He's going to be able to access a lot of the DarkCucco village area, or the Village of Outcasts, as it's canonically referred to as.
Yes, the Village of Outcasts is completely opened up for him now. But he is going to check the Misery Mire area first.
Interesting move.
Yeah, this will give him some information as to which medallion is required to open Mire.
Although, I don't know that we know Mire is even a crystal or a pendant at this point.
I don't think anyone has checked the map in the Dark World.
No. So hopefully MrWunder's thinking ahead, though. Should Thieves' Town be a crystal, it would be wise of him to go and get the hammer before heading there.
DarkCucco has found the Moon Pearl.
So really only a couple of minutes on the heels of MrWunder at this point, so... Number 2 is the Ice Palace, I saw that much, and it looked like Misery Mire was crystal number 4. That was all I was able to catch a glimpse of, unfortunately.
But we now know that Misery Mire requires the Bombos medallion, which both racers have.
I did catch a second look at MrWunder's stream, actually. And if I'm correct, Skull Woods was crystal number 6, Thieves' Town is crystal number 5. Those two useful to know for access to the Big Bomb and subsequently the Fat Fairy. And Palace of Darkness is crystal number 3.
And it looks like the Swamp and Turtle Rock are the pendant dungeons in the Dark World.
Swamp and Turtle Rock, which would leave the Desert Palace as crystal number 7, if my math is correct. Always good to write those things down as soon as possible, whether you're a runner or, in our case, the commentary, just so we know what to refer to later on, and for the runners to know exactly what they might need to go and visit.
MrWunder is heading north. I believe he will be heading towards the Catfish. This is where you get Quake in the vanilla game.
Not sure what DarkCucco's doing other than playing Ring Around the Chest with a Spark. I must have realized soon after that without the boots, he could not bonk back.
Yes, it seemed that might have been muscle memory gone wrong, unfortunately.
That's a good way to put it.
Cannot say that that has never happened to me, for sure.
Absolutely, that happens to everybody. When you're so used to one thing from even a previous couple of seeds, and then you're not able to act it out in the next seed, you still kind of have that feeling that you're able to, even if you might not be able to.
The Catfish holding only a bomb upgrade, which Chris runs away from before he has the chance to pick it up.
Such an interesting world that Catfish are throwing bombs everywhere. And then on the note of video game logic, how does Maldorm not fall off of that platform?
Lots of core strength, I would imagine.
Push-ups and sit-ups and plenty of juice, I suppose.
And DarkCucco has successfully slain Moldorm and is rewarded with the Ether Medallion and the Pendant of Courage. MrWunder entering the graveyard, which is a spot commonly forgotten by runners. It's glad to see that he did not.
It's an interesting location to check right away. Only yielding the magic boomerang, not a bad item, although never required. Because a handful of these locations that you venture to only have one item that are accessible. However, you can usually get to them fairly quickly, so it's not a bad thing. Don't recall seeing it done so early on. Unfortunately, that's all he can do in the graveyard. Without having the boots, he is unable to check the Cape Grave.
Of course, he is on his way toward the village of outcasts, even though he could have gone there from the warp in Kakariko Village. He has opted to walk there, which allows him to check a few locations along the way. And the Cape Cave holding a heart container. Not that he has the cape, so he wouldn't have been able to do it anyway.
Always good to run by it, though, and take a look at what it is.
Yes.
Remember it for when you do. However, I see him now, as you had mentioned, heading to the village of outcasts. He did not get the hammer.
DarkCucco also counting his items correctly and finding the Titan's Mint.
Yes, indeed. And I bet that once MrWunder starts heading into Thieves Town, he may start to kick himself and realize that he should grab that hammer. And less of... Ooh!
Wow!
That's beautiful. Having
Great
the bow,
find.
knowing where the hammer is, that's going to be able to knock out Pod and the Eastern Palace back to back.
Yes, once you have the mirror, a common strategy is to visit Palace of Darkness first, and then teleport to its Light World equivalent to the Eastern Palace and clear that right after.
Oh, and finding silver arrows. This is becoming quite the seed for MrWunder. And very soon after for DarkCucco, both players are going to be very, very happy with their... They've got to be very happy with their item arrangements at this point.
For sure. DarkCucco heading to Village of Outcasts right away. Going to find many of the same things that MrWunder just did. MrWunder going to the digging game next. In Randomizer, the digging game is rigged to give you its item on the 15th dig every time, which is the kind of thing that 100% runners might like to have.
Yes, that's quite the notorious spot for 100% runs. You can wind up losing them very easily between that and the chest game. What's interesting to me right this moment is that the hammer and the fire rod, well, more so the fire rod, because we know where the hammer is, are really the only required items that our runners don't have, seeing as Turtle Rock is not necessary.
Yes. Unfortunately, we have no idea where the fire rod is, and just one item like that can elude you for the entire game. And can turn what might seem a 90-minute seed into a 2-hour one.
Especially if Seed decides to pull out all the stops and put the fire rod somewhere deep inside of Turtle Rock. Although it can't actually be too deep, now that I'm thinking of it. But
because, yeah, the torch puzzle requires the fire rod if you're not going to hover.
That is true. I don't know what I was thinking. It could be within it, though. So 20 rupees from our friend in the Haunted Grove.
MrWunder now delivering the purple chest. This takes a little bit of time, but there is an item inside and it might be important. And of course, because he has not gone to this area south of the village, there are some places to check along the way.
One interesting point I'm seeing in chat right now is that due to the fact that the fire rod would be required to beat Turtle Rock, which yields a pendant, the Master Sword pedestal cannot be the fire rod, and I wonder if our runners might be considering that.
Well, certainly if they do think about that, they will be happy with that fact. Because having to check the Master Sword pedestal is never fun. That means you have to do all 10 dungeons. And that takes a lot of time. DarkCucco finding the powder.
Powder is good. We already know, too, that the boots are required, so I should add that to our list, being that they need the big key for the Desert Palace off of the torch.
The Cane of Berna also inside that cave. The Cane of Berna is an invincibility item, and MrWunder just found the other invincibility item, the Magic Cape. The cape is usually better than the Cane of Burna because the cape does not lag the game, though it does not deal damage to enemies in the way the cane does.
It'll be interesting to see what our other tablet here can bring. But it seems we have DarkCucco making the move I've been hoping for some time now. I'm going to get the hammer.
I certainly hope that MrWunder has not forgotten about the hammer.
I do as well.
It is an important item for sure. Many dungeons require it, and it opens up a lot of navigation in the Dark World. Looks like DarkCucco is probably going to go to the Dark Palace next, but I hope he realizes that he does not have enough money to open it right now.
No, he does not.
He needs 11 more rupees, assuming he does not get hit with Kiki by his side.
No, and that just happened to me earlier today. My first trek through, I took some damage, and Kiki was like, "Nope, I'm out."
MrWunder getting the powder now, and shortly he will have the Cane of Burna as well.
₹10 short at this point. He's got to go farming just a little bit.
It looks like
finding a
he is
small
going out
magic
of his
drop.
way to fight enemies in the area, so it seems that he does realize the problem.
He does indeed. It's not a bad idea.
Fortunately, he's finding these rupees one at a time. I believe MrWunder is going to get the hammer now because he is approaching Lake Hylia from the southwest.
And now
But he does
DarkCucco is
that.
going to check Sahasrara and see what the green
Oh, he
pendant might
has
yield.
the boots. The rare
Boots.
situation where the green pendant turns into an important item.
And with that, he is able to head back and take care of the Desert Palace. So that'll be the 2 Eastern and Palace of Darkness back to back, as well as Desert Palace, and he should be on his way for a little bit. Certainly has more than enough room to go around before worrying too much more about the Fire Rod. Which, without half
As
magic...
chat points out, the boots are the items Sahasrara gives you in the vanilla game, which is always interesting to see.
Yeah, this seed was not completely randomized then. And in a very good way in this case. So I would be very curious to see either of our runners go through the Ice Palace without the Fire Rod, though it is possible, and crazy as it may seem, the Fire Rod can be in there, but without half magic, and only the Boundless Medallion, it would be a very difficult trek without a couple of green potions. DarkCucco farming rupees now in the money game, the chest game. Might as well be a money game at this point.
There is currently a bug in the randomizer that causes the chess game to always pay out 100 rupees if you have already gotten the item from it. This will be fixed in the randomizer soon, but for the duration of the tournament it will stay so as to be fair to all the players. MrWunder finding the boots.
And he's got to be
What
pretty
are
happy about
those?
that. Our 2 runners are basically neck and neck at this point. There's been some slight deviation here and there every couple of minutes, but right this moment they have, I believe, the same item configuration. And it'll be interesting to see if the routes wind up changing majorly at all. Although I think MrWunder might be sticking with his Palace of Darkness idea, as DarkCucco makes his trek through Thievestown.
MrWunder did not have the same financial issues that DarkCucco did, so DarkCucco decided to change his mind and head to Thievestown, while MrWunder is forging ahead to the Palace of Darkness. Both dungeons fairly rich with items.
Indeed, we have 5 unique items in the Palace of Darkness, and another 4 in Thievestown. Smart of DarkCucco to come back, farm for money, and then just knock out Thievestown while he was here.
Yes, for sure. It ended up being not a lot of lost time.
And there's a bonk by MrWunder, one of our first bonks in the match. Gotta be careful, we gotta have someone get that 0 at some point.
Of course, the boots just being found, the bonks will only start to flow now.
That is true, so they may be a little bit lower by default.
MrWunder opting to shoot the jellies instead of waiting them out. It also prepares the bow for the next room.
DarkCucco playing it safe, just walking nice and slowly up this conveyor room. He's taking a bit more damage than he would like. He still has 4.5 hearts. Planning to powder the anti-fairy and heal up fully before the next room.
I usually end up grabbing that anti-fairy myself when I go through this dungeon. It's placed in a spot right after you're going to take a bunch of damage, potentially. So it's a very convenient refresh.
Yeah, that's for sure. MrWunder using an interesting bonk strategy to get onto that platform. It has very strange physics. It's maybe the only platform in the game that I know of that allows you to do something like that.
It's interesting, if you catch it in just the right way, you can actually end up jumping in the wrong direction, and it looks very goofy.
Yeah, I like to say that platform is just completely wonky. So unfortunately, I have not seen much of what DarkCucco has picked up in Thieves Town. Every time that he's been near a chest, I've been watching MrWunder, and hopefully I'm not missing anything on the tracker. Feel free to call me out on that if I am, chat. Within reason, of course.
It does not seem like much interesting has been found in the Palace of Darkness.
Well, when you think of it, they're only really looking for one other item at this point. Ice Rod would be interesting, sure. The Bug Catching Net would be interesting.
Bug Catching Net is great for safeties later on.
But they're really just looking for that Fire Rod, and you never know where it could be. It may not be in one of the required dungeons at all, and that could make it an interesting race to see who finds it first. Having a little bit of problems with the laughing posts here.
But he makes it through without falling in the pit, so that is fine.
So Blind coming up, a boss that tends to give a lot of runners problems. There's a lot of bullet hell kind of strategies. Lots of little fireballs being shot at you, two floating heads, and of course Blind herself. So there's a lot to dodge. Even with the red mail, damage can add up fairly quickly.
Blind also being an interesting boss in that damage that Blind takes is not affected by the weapon you use. It takes 3 swings with your sword, no matter what level sword it is, in order to finish the fight.
Yeah, and that was something I didn't realize until recently. Using the Tempered Sword, I just thought that was better until somebody told me, nope, Fighter Sword, 3 hits on each phase as well.
Interesting. The shovel was dropped by Blind.
Quite a little fetch quest, but it could dig up some endless possibilities. And with that, we have our first crystal. So technically putting DarkCucco in the lead. And let's see, out of Thieves Town, that would have been crystal number 5, I believe. Only
I believe
needing
you are correct.
number 6, and then he may be able to go and check the big bomb.
It's also possible that he may dig up something valuable in the Haunted Grove using that shovel he just found. MrWunder preparing his hammer for the moles and turtles ahead. Also so he can make Link look goofy during this cutscene.
Does look a little interesting, I have not seen that. So I'm wondering if DarkCucco might take a little bit of a detour in the breadsmith area. Swordsmith, smithies. They have many unique names. So hammering all of these posts turns that tree stump into a set of stairs. We go down it, and
he finds the bug net.
Bug net. In the vanilla game, I believe that's a piece of heart.
Yes, I believe you are correct there. It's hard to say who is in the lead at this point, because Palace of Darkness is a longer dungeon than Thieves Town is.
Absolutely, but that's a good point. So many things can go so back and forth in these randomizers anyway that makes it so difficult to tell. Go ahead.
We don't know if the shovel is going to turn up anything important yet. DarkCucco having to persuade the chest.
Chest does not want to leave that house.
Halmas are only dropping a heart piece, but he does have a crystal.
So DarkCucco taking the quick strategy, just fluting with the chest, something that may not be known to everybody, is that the duck is apparently about as useful as Scrapper from Skyward Sword, carrying Link and items. DarkCucco's finally getting himself the cape, and with that he'll be able to protect himself a little bit more, although it's not necessary. Interesting to see.
Do you know which number crystal was in Palace of Darkness?
Palace of Darkness, I believe, is number 3.
Alright, we'll go with that for now.
I'm wondering if he's going to go into Misery Mire at this point, which, as the name implies, is quite a gloomy dungeon.
Personally, I find it my least favorite dungeon to go through.
Now, why is that? What about it do you not like too much?
It is difficult in an annoying way, in my opinion.
I think a lot of people would share that sentiment.
Things that move around fast and erratically. The layout is awkward, and you have to do some backtracking.
Very true.
However, it is something that must be done sometimes, and in this case, it holds a crystal.
So MrWunder
holds a crystal, right?
Yes, Mire has a crystal. MrWunder a little bit lucky with swinging his sword at the green Igor, I believe they're called.
Yes.
He has full health, and it's very possible to hit him with the sword beam instead of the sword itself, not killing him right away then. It can be quite the annoyance at a close range when you think you're hitting him with the blade.
Sometimes you can even cause a glitch with a frame-perfect hit that can cause you to hit bosses that would normally be invulnerable to the sword beam with the sword beam. And that would override your sword damage. Another crystal found by MrWunder, the quick one in Eastern Palace.
Which I believe was number 1 if my notes are correct here. So this is how quickly things can go back and forth. We have DarkCucco going through a longer dungeon right this moment, but MrWunder mirrored out of the Palace of Darkness and completed the Eastern Palace, a very short and quick dungeon, effectively giving him a temporary lead. We will see what happens. They may trade it back and forth several more times before we get to our conclusion.
Seems like we are going to see both runners in the same dungeon for a while. Maybe not. Maybe Chris is going to Desert first.
Interesting. And if DarkCucco's thinking ahead, he may warp to it immediately after. Although I think MrWunder has a slight advantage entering the Desert first. Just because of the location that Misery Mire spits you out at. I don't believe mirroring... actually, no. My apologies. If you mirror right after Misery Mire, it does put you right on that center staircase.
However, this way he can enter from the left side, and that puts him closer to the big key and the big chest.
Yep. He can check out everything else, and then mirror right back instead of running straight back.
Yes. And certainly, it's not a huge time loss warping back to Misery Mire because the necessary warp point is right next to a fast travel point.
Absolutely. But the question that still persists in our mind is, where is the fire pod?
Yes, that is certainly the question, and whichever runner finds it first, the answer to that question will determine much of how this race goes, I think. MrWunder finding the ever-important half-magic upgrade.
That's going to benefit as well. So many of these races have come down to the search for one item. And the routing that these two runners have taken so far has been greatly similar. There hasn't been much deviation. And what deviation there has been, the other runner has gone and done a few minutes later. They've effectively done all of the same things at this point. However, all of Dark Death Mountain is accessible. And I'd be curious to see who might go there first.
There are several items to be found there, especially once you have the hook shot.
Thinking back, actually, they had the Moon Pearl Titan's Mitt and hookshot after the Tower of Hera. That might have been an interesting time to do it.
Of course, Dark Death Mountain is a little bit out of the way. But in a seed like this, where Triller Rock is not required, there doesn't seem to be much of a benefit to putting it off, especially since they have already completed the Tower of Hera.
Right, most runners will put it off on the hope that they only have to climb it once, instead of checking it, going to do something else, and then climbing up it again to get to Turtle Rock.
Perhaps they hope to not have to climb it again at all until they begin the attack on Ganon's tower.
And that could very well be. No pun intended, as DarkCucco was using his B. I literally didn't even notice that when I said it.
MrWunder fighting the Landmolas with the silver arrows, each of them one-shotting one of the worms and picking up another crystal.
And I'm just receiving a memo that one more bad pun and I will be fired. So we have the Vitreous fight now with silver arrows. He's got quite a few, over 40 still. That's going to make this quite a bit easier. One shot on each of the small eyes, 2 shots on the big eye, and that's about all that it takes. This just in, I'm actually receiving a raise because this channel is pro-pun.
Excellent. I will have to step up my game. Now that the stakes have been raised.
As we had both assumed, MrWunder is now making his way through Misery Mire.
Unfortunately, my prediction that we would see both of them in the same dungeon did not turn out to be true.
Did not, but DarkCucco seems to be going somewhere and then rethinking it, pulling out the mirror, and he's also going to enter Desert Palace from the left side.
Yes, he also realizes that he does not need to go to the center area, so he's going to quickly go over there and enter from a more advantageous location.
Both runners definitely on top of their game. They know exactly what they want to do, and they're executing it very well. So this is going to be... I'm going to say it right now, this is going to be a very close race. It has been the entire time, and I don't suspect it to deviate too far, and unless one person happens to make some crazy turn somewhere in hopes of finding the fire rod.
So as we know, DarkCucco made some good routing decisions early on that led to an early advantage, but the mistake of going to Desert Palace without the ability to get the big key set him back a little ways. But now it is very close.
Oh, interesting spot for the big key. I don't think I've ever seen it right there.
Unfortunately, because the fire rod is still missing, he's not going to be able to go directly to the boss. He's going to have to check the remaining chests, some of which can be very time-consuming. Another reason why this dungeon for many is not a favorite.
But if you're going to go into a dungeon, it's usually best to take the time and check everything. Make sure that you're nice and clean with it.
That is absolutely true.
So for those of you that may have just tuned in, we are watching The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past Randomizer, a race between MrWunder and DarkCucco. And so far, a little bit over an hour in, things have been very, very close. Nobody has any real clear advantage over the other at this point. Greatly looking forward to seeing this last little bit. That should be crystal number 7 for DarkCucco now that he's cleared out Landmolas beautifully.
It's a very good fight.
Cucco did not get the half magic yet. I believe that was in one of the Eastern Palaces. Do you recall where MrWunder got it?
I do not recall, unfortunately.
But we are going to find out soon. I hope.
Chad is saying it was the compass room in Desert, on the right side.
Oh, so that's what DarkCucco did not go back and check. It seems he's trying to now, though.
Yes, he is going to check those now and is about to find it.
Excellent. It's a good move to head back there and be sure that he gets that. So DarkCucco's next moves are probably going to be on the relation of Palace of Darkness and the Eastern Palace, allowing him to get another 2 crystals. Both of our runners still need to hit the Ice Palace, which with the Bombos Medallion and half magic shouldn't be too bad. They may very well find the Fire Rod inside. And then, of course, Skull Woods is the elusive dungeon in this seed, without having the Fire Rod. It's nice to see DarkCucco back in the Palace of Darkness area with more than enough rupees this time.
He would need to get hit with Kiki several times in order to come up short on cash now.
That is for sure. Because Kiki will charge you the 10 rupees every time. I don't even want to try the math at this point. But it would take a number of mistakes.
On the 53rd mistake, you would run out of cash.
A lot of room for error, at least. This game is quite forgiving. Yeah, the possibility of the Fire Rod being within Skull Woods is real, as you really only need the Fire Rod to get to 2 item locations within the dungeon itself. Skull Woods being a risky place to check, though, because there's only 2 item locations to begin with. Unique item locations, I should say. There are plenty of, there's 3 small keys, of course the map, compass, and the big chest.
Yes, Skullwood's interesting disjointed layout means that there are a lot of ways to enter, so there are a lot of keys because you'll need them to get around.
Even an extra one if you play your cards right.
For sure. An unfortunate misplacement of the bomb for DarkCucco twice, wasting a little bit of time trying to get into the basement.
Fortunately, having more bombs now than he did at the beginning of the race.
For sure. It is not a limited resource at this point.
Ever since the addition of the capacity upgrades, it's been fairly common for runners to find them. They have not been shy about showing themselves, that is for sure. It seems MrWunder may now be heading to the Thieves' Den. Go see our friend Blind, grab a few items in the process. And another crystal.
Yes, a common point of advice in a randomizer is to do your crystal dungeons as soon as you can. Though it seems that he is checking some side areas nearby first, in hopes of finding the Fire Rod.
Although we know at this point it's going to be the bug-catching net, but that's certainly not a bad alternative.
So having the bug-catching net allows you to capture fairies for safeties later on. The game can get a lot more difficult if you don't have the bug net. However, with the red mail, it's not much of a concern. MrWunder also opting to check the Magic Bats Cave.
Which I do not recall seeing DarkCucco do.
I don't believe he did, no.
Another point I'm realizing right now is that with Thievestown having the 5th crystal and Skullwoods having number 6, the Fire Rod cannot be obtained from the Big Bomb. So that might be another point I wonder if our runners are considering.
It's being able to rule out locations like that, especially one as time-consuming as the Fat Fairy's pond accessible with the Super Bomb. I can save a lot of time for a runner who is thinking carefully.
That is true. It's easy to get lost in your own mind when you're doing one of these, though. It's important to keep yourself slow and calm and really think thoroughly about your next move. At the same time, the difficult part is continuing to move, which our runners presently haven't had much of a point where they need to stop and wonder what they can do because they've always had another dungeon they can go and hit. I'm very pleased to see that they haven't had any real downtime at this point.
Yes, for sure. Always moving is important in a randomizer. If there's somewhere you can go, it's often unwise to spend a lot of time thinking about whether it's the number one optimal thing to do. Sometimes you just want to do it and make a decision.
One thing I've learned is that it's not really worth the energy wondering whether or not what you're doing is completely optimal. If you're going to commit to something, it's usually best to just finish. Follow it through. Because of the nature of a randomizer being random, it's kind of self-explanatory. Things could be anywhere. If you choose to go right and somebody else chooses to go left, one of you may get lucky or you may both find green rupees. Can't second guess yourself, though. But both of our runners have actually routed this very, very well to this point. And we are running out of locations for them to check, although Dark Death Mountain is completely open. And I do wonder, just based on the number of chests up there, when somebody might hit it. Whether or not they may go there hoping for the Fire Rod before Ice Palace, even.
Be interesting to see. With the half magic upgrades in play, it is certainly not as scary to go to Ice Palace without the Fire Rod.
Not as scary with half magic, but certainly not an ideal thing. Another point to consider, especially without half magic, is that the Bombus Medallion, of course, uses a lot of magic, and with random prize packs, there is not really a guarantee that your magic will be refilled before the Cold Stare fight, where magic is absolutely required.
Yes, the only thing you can count on is a couple small refill pots before the boss. Normally you could count on a full magic upgrade from the penguin enemies in the dungeon, but not so in Randomizer.
Ooh. Yeah, that would be fairly common. Those two small pots right before the Cold Stare boulder, or giant block, I should say, are really the only guaranteed pieces of magic nearby. DarkCucco having to reposition his Samaria block. So he pulls out the silver arrows and makes quick work of the mimics. Checking under the skull for another 5 arrows, and heading up to the north to play a dancing game with the spike here.
DarkCucco having a little bit of trouble with some of the obstacles in the Palace of Darkness. You know, if your timing is off by even a little bit, it can really mess you up.
Sure, and those mimics can always be confusing, even for experienced players. You might turn to the side a little bit and think that you got an arrow shot lined up, for example, and just be off by a pixel or two. And unfortunately, that can be all it takes.
It happens to even the best runners. MrWunder taking a misplaced bomb to the face. Fortunately, MrWunder is having some difficulty with these conveyor belts as well.
We're about to get our second glimpse at the Helmasaur King. Interesting couple of points about the fight with Helmasaur. Holding your sword out, as you hammer, will effectively prevent Link from turning back around after he swings it, allowing you to keep running up in the same direction and just hit him time and time again.
Fortunately, it doesn't seem like DarkCucco knows about or wants to do that strategy.
It seems to be working out fairly well for him.
Seems to be doing fine without it.
Another interesting point for the Helma fight is that if you break his mask off after he spits out his fireballs, the fireballs will disappear. So sometimes if you've got your 15th or 16th hit in on him, and he spits them out, it's not a bad idea to wait another moment and break the mask while they're in play. That way they'll disappear and greatly reduce the risk to the playing field. So I will be very curious to know where MrWunder is going to head next.
It's a very close race.
And DarkCucco, of course, making his way into the Eastern Palace.
MrWunder is up by about 1 dungeon's worth. Digging up the item in the Haunted Grove, finding only 20 rupees. Opting to save and quit instead of doing whatever he planned to do in
Starting from the Sanctuary at this point, my guess is that he may head and check the Cape Grave, as that has not been done yet. He's making an immediate right, and it does appear so. Not a bad idea. He's getting to a point where there's a lot of single item locations left.
Of course, as we know, there are a lot of items in very close proximity in the Dark World Death Mountain.
Merely a green rupee in the cave, but...
that's unfortunate.
Yes, I agree, though. He would be wise to go and check Death Mountain. Calling his bird friend, and let's see where he's going to go. It appears nope, I'm sorry, I did not see the cursor move. It appears Ice Palace is going to be next on MrWunder's agenda.
Also, definitely a valid move at this point. He knows he can complete it. With the half magic upgrade, there's not much of a reason to fear doing it without the Fire Rod.
Agreed. It's an instance where you have a dungeon that yields a crystal that is completable, even though it's not in an ideal circumstance. It's a very good one to go and do.
Fortunately, I believe there is only 3 items in Ice Palace.
That is correct. Not a high chance, but even if there's nothing, even if there isn't a Fire Rod, it is still a required dungeon in this seed.
DarkCucco dispatching the Armos Knights and picking up his 5th crystal.
You know, again, I'll say it. So many of these races that I've watched, and even the ones I've commentated on so far, have come down to searching for one last item.
It often happens.
There's no shortage of excitement with it. And I am very eager to see these players continue to be neck and neck.
It'll be interesting to see what DarkCucco does from here. It looks like he is also going to Ice.
So our runners may, in fact, high-five. Wish each other good luck along the way, although they don't have a clue where the other person is. It's starting to get to a point, right around that 90-minute mark. You start to kind of worry in the back of your mind when that dot done is going to appear. Of course, we know it's still a little bit off. But you can't help but wonder when you're the one racing. The suspense of it can be quite invigorating for the heart rate, I would say.
There is certainly a psychological aspect to it, because if you get too worried about what your opponent is doing, you might end up making mistakes yourself that didn't need to happen and only set yourself back. You really got to stay cool under the pressure.
Sure, of course.
Pressure that you don't know how much pressure there is itself very strong pressure.
One thing I see the chat asking is which parts of Death Mountain still need to be checked, and the answer would be everything in the dark eastern half. The Burna Cave has not been checked, and aside from that, those two spots would really be it.
Yes, there are 2 chests to find in the Death Mountain Ascent Cave, and then I believe 4 more in the Hookshot Cave, which, as the name implies, they will be able to completely explore because they have the Hookshot.
That's correct. So using Bamos on both of these ice guys, letting them both come out first, is a great strategy rather than one at a time. Nice to find the big key right there. He's not going to waste a bomb, it looks like. He's going to push that block.
Oh, but he missed the first one.
Didn't get the hookshot strat.
But he got the second one, so that's good.
So he's able to push that one up, find a full heart container. And I wonder if he's going to go and take out Cold Stare right now and then come back in for the rest.
Doesn't seem like it. He is going to move on and look or unless he's only getting the safety fairy. No, he is going to move on and look for more.
Not a terrible idea, because he can essentially make a full loop out of the place at this point.
Both runners doing the bomb jump, that's always good to see. That simplifies this dungeon by a whole lot.
Yeah, so it's one of the biggest time saves to learn in the no major glitches category. Although, I must say, one of the most difficult. I would even think the hammer jump, although much more intimidating, is actually a little bit easier to figure out.
Whereas all it takes is learning the setup. Oh, it looks like DarkCucco is opting to not do the bomb jump after all. Perhaps he is not so confident in his ability to get it done before he exhausts his life bar.
Yeah, with only having 4 hearts, that's it is a risk to consider. You can deplete your health very easily by trying it. It's never an ideal thing, but we will keep going, and his route shouldn't deviate too much, in truth, because of the Cane of Samaria. That block that would otherwise be pushed down really isn't necessary.
Also the fact that both runners will be checking the rest of the dungeon anyway.
And they were both in the same room a moment ago. Not entirely sure where DarkCucco is heading now, as this next room is, in fact, one way only, so he's turning right back around.
Even if you defeat all the enemies in that room, that door will not open.
Just another 20 rupees, so it doesn't seem like the Ice Palace has come up with too much.
Fortunately, that is the case. We will see what they do next, though I imagine that they are both hoping that they will find it in Death Mountain, because if it's not there, they will have to start checking pendant dungeons, and that is never fun.
Well, Hera's out of the way, and they could possibly do a bit in Turtle Rock, although we haven't actually seen what medallion is required. It could be the Quake medallion for all we know. So entering it isn't even a guarantee at this point. And Skull has a limited number of options for them, although it is an option.
However, we shall still see what Cold Stare drops.
I believe Cold Stare is going to drop the compass. Yeah, I caught a glimpse of MrWunder's start menu, and he does not have the compass yet. So the gamble will be, do you go to Skull Woods for fewer chests, hoping that the fire rod's there so that you don't have to leave and come back, make senseless voyages? Or do you head straight up to Dark Death Mountain, where there are a numerous amount of chests and item locations? It's tough to say.
See, the chat is taking bets on where they're going to find the fire rod.
Well, it seems pretty split down the middle, too. Some people are saying to check Skull Woods, and others are saying to check the Dark Death Mountain area. That's the interesting thing about this randomizer, is that for everybody that runs it, there's an equal number of strategies for it. No two people play it the same way.
MrWunder picking up his 6th crystal, which is number 2.
And a fantastic thing I'm seeing in the chat right now that I didn't even consider for some reason is the Swamp Palace. There are a lot of locations there that they could look. 6 items in total.
Sure, that is the most item-rich dungeon in the game, discounting Ganon's Tower.
I'm a little disappointed in myself for not considering it. But MrWunder is indeed checking Dark Death Mountain. He's going to make his way across this bridge here. Head on down and grab this void.
Seems like DarkCucco's... I think his stream has frozen. Oh no, maybe not. He just spent some time thinking.
I think if it had frozen entirely, his timer would have gone along with it, since those should be off of the same broadcast.
That is true. Yeah, he must have been thinking of what to do.
Certainly not a bad thing.
Perhaps he needed to remember how to do this dungeon the vanilla way.
As good as it is to keep moving when you're in a race, especially, there isn't necessarily anything wrong with taking a quick moment to just stop and collect your thoughts. It does get overwhelming having so many locations need to be checked here, and not always remembering all of them. Not entirely sure what was going on, but certainly a possibility.
MrWunder entering the much-anticipated Hookshot Cave and finds the fire rod right away.
That's going to pay off for him. He's going to head straight back to Skull Woods at this point and get that last...
Yes.
Get that last
MrWunder
crystal.
Now having everything he needs to complete the game.
And he is essentially in go mode. Now, Skull Woods is one of 2 dungeons in the game where you do not even need the big key. So he can run right through, burn off that little dead neck thing, and pretty much head straight through. You might have to pick up a small key along the way, but that would be it. There's one right outside that last exit. It's only a 1 dungeon rush, but this could be one of the quickest dungeon rushes with Skull Woods being needed.
All the small keys are available in guaranteed locations. At least all the small keys that you need.
Yes.
DarkCucco picking up crystal number 2.
I believe that he'll need 2 small keys in total, but yes, there's one under his skull, and then there's another that's guaranteed to be dropped by the Giddo in the room right before the Mothula pit. Still super, super close, though. We have 6 crystals each at an hour and a half. It's going to depend on how long it takes for DarkCucco to find that last important item. But this may be the first point that anyone has had a very decisive lead on the race, and it seems he's heading down to the Swamp Palace. Not a bad idea, just not the right idea in this case, though he does not know that.
But I do believe it is the wrong play at this point, even disregarding the extra knowledge we have. Swamp Palace is deceivingly time-consuming, given that you have to do the whole sequence with the dam to enter it.
Absolutely true. A fact I did not consider. Dark Death Mountain has a lot of the chests in such close proximity, and you pointed that out earlier as well.
Yes.
But he's not going there.
A very fast Mothula fight from MrWunder.
So where is DarkCucco going?
That is interesting. I thought he was going to Swamp, but
signs would have indicated it. Up to the Grove? Did he not check the Grove before? I thought he did.
He has talked to him, but he has not dug up the item, I believe. But as we know, that is only 20 rupees.
Not a bad thing to check, though, quickly, too. That would be faster than the trek up Death Mountain. Unfortunately, it's not the right item, although it is the right color item.
That is true. MrWunder, not risking anything with the dead rocks. He does not want to be body blocked.
And nor should he at this point. It's go, go, go. It's like Baby Daisy in Mario Kart 8. Little bit of a back and forth maneuver, though. Must be a new speed strat.
Cucco hoping to dig up the fire rod. Wow, the Dead Rock's just having a party.
So using this Turtle Rock Void, we do see that it's the Quake Medallion, so good thing that the Fire Rod or anything else required wasn't in there, because we have not seen Quake anywhere.
So nobody has any idea where it is at this point. We may even find it in Ganon's Tower.
I would think that's the likely place at this point in the run. Although DarkCucco is heading into the right direction at this point, I'm pleased to see that. So all things considered, he still will not be that far behind, though I don't know if he'll be able to catch up at this point.
Yes, MrWunder has certainly built up quite an impressive lead by checking Dark Death Mountain earlier, but anything can still happen in Randomizer, and it is possible to make mistakes in Ganon's Tower, costly mistakes.
Certainly. Even against Ganon himself, he may fall off a couple of times.
For sure. So at this point, it seems it is MrWunder's race to lose, though.
Small key there, let's see if he gets it. Sometimes people will skip that small key in an NMG run, but in the Randomizer, when all that you need to climb Ganon's Tower is one small key and the big key, not a bad idea to pick up anything that you see laying around.
For sure, you don't know how much you're going to have to explore the basement. The big key could be anywhere.
I'm waiting for a seed where somebody winds up needing boots, gets into Ganon's Tower, doesn't have them, and the big key is on the torch.
Oh man, that would be painful. And not impossible for sure.
That was one of the things that the Uncle Text used to provide was an occasional hint about where the boots are. That has been removed in the Randomizer tournament version for the seeds. Always funny to see him say that this seed is bootless until boots, though. Great boomerang hookshot strategy in the double switch room by MrWunder. It's one of my favorite little things to do. It just looks so cool having that boomerang fly right through everything.
And DarkCucco has found the fire rod from the hookshot cave and is going to Skull Woods to get the last crystal now. Something interesting that can happen in a race, especially a 1 versus 1 race, is that you have a choice at the beginning to explore the left side of Ganon's Tower first, or the right side. The left side has a lot of chests quickly, but if you feel you are behind, some runners will opt to explore the right side first in hopes of gaining an advantage on their opponent. It's a long shot, but it sometimes pays off.
It is a clutch move, that's for sure, but every now and then it's not the most insane idea that you could take in this game. Although the probability of it being on the left is far, far higher. So it's another one of those questions. When do you decide to take that chance? And there's no right answer for it.
With no information on how your opponent is doing, you've got to rely on your intuition for decisions like that.
I almost wonder if MrWunder might be considering that he could have come up to Dark Death Mountain much earlier, and possibly considering that his opponent may already be in the Ganon fight as a result. Certainly would have saved some time, I think.
For someone who knows the bomb jump, there's a big difference between rushing through Ice Palace and exploring all of Ice Palace.
Certainly. And they were going through Ice Palace when they only needed that one item, so the Ice Palace bomb jump would have paid off quite well if that were the case. And there's his big
has
key.
been
He has
discovered.
3 small keys. He's gonna head straight upstairs.
No reason not to at this point.
No, absolutely.
I mean, he has silver arrows, he has the gold sword and the red mail.
Oh, it appears DarkCucco does not know about that small key that's under the skull in Skull Woods. He's searching this first chest, hoping that it contains a small key. Fortunately for him, it does.
Yes. That
would have been...
might have hurt him a lot.
Might have set him back a bit, had it not contained a key.
Looks like we have a winner on the guesses for when the big key would be found.
I wasn't even counting the chest numbers. Did we know exactly how far in it was?
It was number 16.
Number 16. Now, how do you order the ones in the post-Amros room? Obviously, the first one, the vanilla big key chest, would be first, but between the left and the right ones behind it, which one of those would be 16 or 17?
I think it's just whichever one the runner checks first, that is the earlier numbered one.
Ah, that's fair. And that actually makes perfect sense, other than me trying to over-explain it.
That's also how the menu in the credit, or the stats in the credits would present that information.
That is true, the chest's pre-Ganon key stat.
This room of the gauntlet giving MrWunder a bit of a runaround, but he is making progress nicely.
Gauntlet's never easy, you can just do a little bit better each time.
There is so much enemy RNG involved that it's hard to really plan for it.
For sure.
Sometimes if things don't go your way, you don't make the right call, it can all fall apart, and you can end up spending precious seconds in a room that you wouldn't otherwise need to. Using that powder to fill up most of his life bar, and DarkCucco collecting the 7th and final crystal, it is sure to begin the march on Ganon's Tower now.
And realistically speaking, he's not that far behind. This is still a fantastically close race. They will be in Ganon's Tower, I believe, at the same time at some point. It may not be for very long, but neither runner should be disappointed with anything that they've done, although they may start to wonder just how long it'll be until we see the .done command. Ah, MrWunder falling right off of a ledge there.
It's DarkCucco doing a safety option and fluting over to the potion shop very quick to spend some of his wealth on a blue potion.
Never a bad idea. Even with half magic. Only having 11 hearts going into Ganon's Tower might be a factor for it. That does seem a little bit low for most randomizers that I've seen.
That is true. Something I hadn't considered is that they don't have as much health as you usually get in a randomizer run. Perhaps DarkCucco is feeling some of that pressure. It also enables you to do some things such as using the cape to make some rooms easier if you choose to go that route, because you have extra magic to burn. And,
of course.
You'll be able to fill up before you fight Ganon.
Taking a slightly different route up Dark Mountain. But...
Yes, there are 2 ways to do it, and some runners, if they don't need to go to Turtle Rock, will prefer to enter the Dark World earlier.
That's true. I have seen it about a 50-50 split. Although I believe in DarkCucco's case, he would have still needed to open the void at Turtle Rock. So it may not be too much of a difference in time either way. Although I think generally climbing from the light world is a tad faster.
MrWunder choosing to release the bees against Aghanim too. Perhaps he needed the hint as to which Aghanim is real. The bees will always follow the real one, but I think more likely he's just goofing around.
Well, that's a good way to goof around, though. It's comical. So his fight, on the other hand, is not actually going too well. Getting only, well, he might have gotten 2 of those hits on that one.
Yes, some unfortunate patterns for sure, but
and there we go.
And not too slow.
No, so DarkCucco will be entering Ganon's tower right as MrWunder is leaving.
He'll just miss the high five. We'll let those bees continue stinging egg in him. We've got business with Ganon.
Nice use of a bonk there to enter the Ganon fight.
Getting the sucker punch on Ganon, always helpful. You get one free hit.
I feel like I've seen some people get 2 before the text box comes in.
It is possible, but the timing window is very tight.
So here we go with the fire bat phase. Swinging away, we've got these bats coming after him, and we should be good onto phase 3 thanks to the butter sword.
With the butter sword, you only need to hit him 6 times to move on to the next phase, which is not much at all. The fight will be over quickly if you don't mess up. Especially with those silver arrows. Here we are going to see the torch glitch successful. This means that he will not have to worry about the right torch for the rest of the battle, only have to take care of the left one when it goes out.
And how that works is fairly simple. Lighting that first torch as it goes out before the second one does prevents the torch on the right from ever extinguishing. And we just saw him get 2 hits on Ganon with the silver arrow twice.
And another double to end it.
That was actually very nice.
Fantastic Ganon fight.
If Ganon takes a hit from a silver arrow and is far enough away from a ledge, you can hit him with another one. I've heard of some people getting 3, although I have not personally. It must be fairly uncommon, and we have time.
Unfortunately, we cannot provide the official SRL time because RaceBot is currently having technical difficulties.
But it looks like it's right around 1:46:36. Great time.
A fantastic time for sure. Congratulations to Chris.
File names were correct. Chris did win.
What a prediction.
There was no way to lose. So we have him in the general chat. I'm going to pull him into our call and talk with MrWunder for a few minutes here while we watch DarkCucco finish up. MrWunder, hello, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very strong finish and a very good run overall.
I'm happy with it, yep. I do want to point out that the SRL when I got done, it didn't finish.
Yes, RaceBot does not appear to be in the IRC chat.
Okay.
I don't personally know anything about that, but I would assume that those that do will take care of what's necessary.
Okay, perfect.
We have your time, at least on stream anyway.
Yeah.
And it is a very good time.
Yeah, how did you feel about the seed? Overall thoughts on it?
It was a very, very good seed. I forgot Dark World Death Mountain, but besides that, it was perfect.
Your opponent seemed to have done the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you had both made the same move after finishing Hera. I realized it a little bit later on. After completing Hera, you had the book. I'm sorry, you had the Moon Pearl, you had the hookshot, and the Titan's Mitt. You guys could have gone straight over to Eastern Death Mountain right away and done everything there. But neither one chose not to. I'm curious, where did you think that your opponent was throughout the entire race?
I thought he was ahead of me. I thought I was behind as soon as I started scrambling for the boots. But after I finished Hera, when I got the Titan's Mitts and... yeah, the Titan's Mitts from Hera, the basement of Hera, I figured I had a pretty big lead at that point, because who would choose Hera before you do any pendant dungeons, or crystal dungeons?
Sound reasoning. Truth is, the two of you were basically following the exact same route up until Ice Palace was finished.
Really?
You had a slight lead over him through the Ice Palace area, but up until then, you were essentially trading minor leads with each other pretty much every other minute, it seemed. The big thing was you finding the fire rod quite a bit sooner.
Even early on, I believe there was a difference where one of you went to Aghanim, and the other one went to Eastern Palace.
Yeah, I would have went to Aghanim. As soon as I got the gold sword early on, I knew I was going to have to do Aghanim. It just seemed, at that point, I had nothing else to do. I had the Master Sword, well, a sword that would break in it, you know.
Right. Usually you get something that overpowered, or one of your first items being the cape. You don't rule out the idea of going to Aghanim, even though the tree item may have only been rupees.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not a bad choice, and DarkCucco wound up going there first, and it paid off for him big time, finding the flipper so that he was able to then go and get the mirror.
Oh, that was a huge find. Yeah, the mirror opens like quite a bit.
The thing I was wondering watching you was when you were going to go and get the hammer. Did you forget where it was by chance for a little bit, or did you just plan to get it later on in your route?
No, I always had that idea that I knew I'd get it on my way to get the purple chest. But my routing with the purple chest, I just felt like it was really slow the way that I took. I don't know. I should have did Thieves earlier, but I was too scared that I would forget the big chest in Thieves. I didn't trust myself.
I don't want to interrupt, but RaceBot is back, Chris, and you should quickly type .done into the race channel.
.done. Okay.
Done.
Awesome.
.done.
So
Okay.
that is not an accurate time. I don't know if the organizers of our tournament might be able to correct that.
It's exactly 5 minutes longer than what I have.
Wow, it is.
So.
It certainly was interesting race, because
Yeah.
there was a little bit of deviance at the beginning, but it all sort of ended up being a wash because one of you got the Moon Pearl and the other one got the flippers. Also, your fake flippers early allowed you to get
The gloves.
the gloves,
yes,
and
yeah.
your opponent did not do fake flippers. They were
Yeah.
stuck without that for a while.
That was also something I kept in my mind. I knew that the power that those gloves, while they would be important, they would not be required to get to where I was, like, to Death Mountain. That was not going to have a required item because I know fake flippers is not a required trick to perform. So I didn't really think of that as a huge lead.
That's true. And then it was only a moment later that you wound up finding the flute anyway.
Yep, exactly. So there was no reason really that would have given me a huge lead. As soon as I found the flute, I knew it really didn't matter.
But again, we see fake flippers yielding an item that is nonetheless useful.
Mm-hmm.
This is I believe the 4th seed now that had something good there.
Yep.
At least today, possibly more in the previous days.
Same with the pyramid. That's two things that I will not be ruling out anytime soon in my rounds.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Now here's one question from the chat. How did you feel about picking up the boots, being that they were in the vanilla location?
I'm not going to take the bait from Tara, but I will say I was pissed.
Now,
That is
I
understandable.
I did keep the
Yeah.
question anonymous, but you know.
Oh, I'm not keeping that anonymous.
So yeah, it really was a fantastic run, and even though DarkCucco wound up entering Ganon's Tower literally as you were fluting out. So there is a decent difference in the time,
Mm-hmm.
but this was still fantastically close.
I can't
you
wait to watch
guys-
it myself.
You guys both demonstrated very good knowledge of the game. You traded minor leads back and forth, and both of you should be extremely proud of yourselves. You did a great job on a semi-straightforward in terms of item placement and yet challenging seed.
Mm-hmm.
Of
would
course,
have to
not needing
say,
to do Turtle Rock was a fantastic
I
choice.
would have to say this seed was pretty streamlined, though. As long as you could figure out to go to Hera, it was pretty streamlined. And if one
Sure.
of us would have found the fire rod before the other, like earlier, because I'm sure we both forgot, it would have been a much bigger blowout for either one of us.
Yeah, that was something we were saying. That would have been game-changing because instead of going through all of Ice Palace, you could have just done a quick NMG strategy through it.
Yep.
And
And
you would have,
Ice Palace triples the time if you can't NMG through it.
of course. So you were finishing with a number of 21 bonks is what I'm seeing. Very nicely done.
Well, I got the boots really late.
Yeah, that is a factor, but take the compliment, please.
I appreciate it, DT.
I suspect a similar number for our friend DarkCucco as well.
Oh,
once we
of
get
course.
there.
A very good item menu time of 3 minutes and 36 seconds.
He
I
got the
felt
menu
my
an
menu
hour
was-
late into the run too, though, so that helped.
The menu.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. That
2
was a
a.m.
very good one. Come on, DT.
Oh,
Why did I forget Dark World Death Mountain? I don't know. I should
And
have.
unfortunately, sometimes you just forget something.
Yep.
yeah.
Not always
It's
a
the
reason
nature of
for it.
routing it. By the time that you were finished with the Tower of Hera, you had all of the items necessary to start doing all of Dark World Kakariko. So it's very possible that's what was on your mind instead of, oh, Death Mountain instead.
Well, actually, what was on my mind was the hammer. I knew I saw it on that island, and that's a spot people tend to forget. I just did not want to forget that hammer. It was the only thing on my mind.
Sure. And that would have been a very good thing to get as soon as you did.
Yep.
DarkCucco did wind up getting it before you, though, I believe.
Well, you can't take much longer than I did to get that to get to that spot.
I suppose that is true.
Yeah. Not my smartest routing decisions this run, but I feel like overall my movement and performance on bosses were fantastic.
That is
I would
definitely
agree.
true.
So we have DarkCucco right now going into the Maldorm 2 fight, gets a quick spin attack on him. Pokes at his face a little bit. Nobody would really appreciate that, especially with a stick of butter. Finish it up fairly quickly. He's going to check that last chest as well and pick up a final B.
Did you like how I used the
Yeah.
bees on Aghanim?
If you had opened
Yes.
that chest, you could have had 3 in that fight.
I did open that chest.
Yeah, he did. He got
You
that
did?
last one.
Okay.
I used the other bee somewhere else. Oh, in the tile room.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right. I had forgotten about that one. Yeah, overall, very strong showing. And a good time, of course. The sub 150 is never anything to be unhappy about.
Oh, of course. Especially when you forget. Another thing I want to say is I did Hera probably at 20 minutes or so. Is probably when I was about entering Hera. And I didn't get the boots until an hour. And I had the flute the whole time. It would have just taken a quick flute to 5 to go get the boots, and that would have saved another maybe 10 minutes.
That's an interesting point.
Yep.
Because Hera giving you the Pendant of Courage, yeah, you could have gotten that quite a bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the gamble that you have. Was it on the back of your mind at least all that time that you could still...
Absolutely.
So...
But like
you
I said,
you can't fault yourself then. You knew you were going to hit it eventually.
But like I said, that hammer on the island just had my attention the whole time.
I will say, it's been a while since I've seen an item on that island that's actually been needed.
Same here.
So, DarkCucco entering Ganon fight, pulls out the magic cape immediately. Only 4 hearts. I see at least 1 blue potion. I don't know how many he may have gotten. But we're going to wish him the best as he goes through this. And he took 1 hit already, so he's got to use that cape. 1 more hit, even with the red mail, and that could be catastrophic for him. And there he goes, using the blue potion.
a little too late. I
Just
hope he has a
smidge too
fairy.
late.
He does.
He does, okay. Fantastic. Yes, that's right. The Zora regurgitated a fairy.
Was there a death for either of us?
You did not die. No,
I don't recall one for DarkCucco either.
Yes, I don't recall one.
At any point...
Oh
Mr.
no,
Wonder-
another death.
Another. I don't think he has a second fairy.
Oh no,
That'll
that is
respawn
too
at the bottom of
bad.
the pyramid, at least. That's not a huge loss. That's not the worst place to die. Now, Mr. Wonder, I'm curious. Did you happen to consider at any point that you might have needed to go into Turtle Rock for anything? Even though it was a pendant dungeon?
That was in the back of my mind the whole time. Because the fire rod can be all the way up to the last chest in that dungeon if it really wants to be. The odds of it are very slim because then you have to skip that first room, but...
Yes, right. It would be an odd configuration, although it may be possible.
It can happen. But that was a very last resort for me. I was even going to go into Skullwoods before I did that.
No, I can fully support that decision. And we still have that 5 arrow upgrade that DarkCucco does not want to pick up.
Opting to fill up his bottles with blue and green potions
And he's going to
Just blue
refill his
potion.
magic and then just get another blue potion. And we'll get the arrow upgrade. Why
Forget
not?
magic,
You know
why
what?
not?
It's been sitting there waiting for us the whole time. Let's just grab it.
And hopefully the second Ganon fight will be successful.
As we make our way right back up, we're hoping that this fight goes a little bit easier for him. Ganon can always be difficult. Even experienced players wind up falling off, getting hit by fire bats, or even outright dying to him. Sometimes his movement's a little unpredictable. It's tough to see what's going on. Even seasoned players can wind up having problems with Ganon. He's definitely a good final boss.
Tanking a lot of hits here.
Relying on those potions, perhaps. But now that we're into this phase, there's not a whole lot that Ganon can do aside from contact damage. And the range of the Butter Sword can certainly help.
Entering the final phase now. See if he can do the torch
concerned
glitch.
Ganon might not have moved, but he did far enough.
A successful torch glitch. Oh,
Ooh, takes a
hard hit
bat
from
right to the
that.
face.
But
Takes another one right to the face.
Oh no!
Oh no.
I don't believe he got a fairy on the way here, so that's
He
going to be
did not.
another
He
game over.
Filled up on potions.
We'll see if third time is the charm.
That's unfortunate. You know, he was about to fall off. It was a fantastic save to not fall down. It was very unfortunate that Ganon hadn't quite moved out of the way yet.
This is reminding me of DT's Ganon fight.
It's very similar, yes. He's got to use a
Taking few
potion
hits
right away
again.
now.
Yes, he did use it in time.
Although for some benefit of the doubt, I will say having 12 hearts against Ganon is not something that we see often in randomizers. He does not have a lot of health. He's going to switch to the cape, it seems, or maybe not. He pulled it out. It would have been a little more advantageous to use it, but now he has to heal again.
Fortunately, maybe, as Chad has pointed out, there might be a little bit of tilt going on, which is
It is
understandable.
possible. Absolutely.
The thing about this seed is all the hearts, like the boss hearts, where you could see them, but they were just really out of the way, like in the maze race.
Right.
Yeah. And that's not a bad place to consider mirroring right after the digging game. Even though it does take a little bit of time, if you're still low on health by that point, it's certainly a good thing to do.
Especially if you're not feeling confident in yourself.
Of course.
Yep.
So here we go, we're back into phase 3. Where he just moves around, teleports. All of his extra teleportation phases in the randomizer have been removed. And hitting him early enough will prevent him from spitting out that fire bat, but we have not seen a whole lot of that here from Cucco. He's healing one more time. Does not have a whole lot of rupees left, should he wind up needing to use all of his
Gotta be
potions.
careful
Ganon's in
here.
a very tough spot now, wow.
He's being very aggressive with Cucco here.
Oof.
I'm quite nervous.
We've got one hit.
Alright, opting to use the potion now. A good move.
Very good move.
No
Let's light
reason
that
not
torch
to.
again. See where Ganon's going to teleport to next. Straight down. Almost took a bat to the face. Didn't quite get him in time with the arrow. Oh no.
Unfortunately, the dodge messed up his aim.
2 more hits to go though. We can do this. We're almost good here.
Getting in the center is nice. Oh, but that was close. And a double
And
hit
there
to
we
finish
go.
it.
Double hit to finish it. Beautiful. Let's give DarkCucco a great round of GG's. Tough
Yes,
race. He played
GG.
very, very well. We hope he doesn't feel too discouraged.
Finishing with an official SRL time of 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 24 seconds.
Certainly a great run. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, the quest is over, as is the race.
We'll see if he wants to come in and hang out with us for a few minutes, chat for a little bit. And he's there, so let's bring him on in. DarkCucco, hello there. Very good job.
Hey, thanks.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. This is by far the best run I had in a rando.
Excellent.
It is
That's
certainly
fantastic to hear.
not a bad time.
No. I'll have you know that you and MrWunder were neck and neck trading leads with each other for a very, very long time. Where did you feel like he might have been in relation to you during the time that you were running it?
I know that he was most likely better than me in movement and overall movement around the map, around the dungeons. Well, I was pretty confident that my choice to go to Hera pretty early was a good call.
Yeah, indeed it was. You two were very, very neck and neck right up until about the end of the Ice Palace, where MrWunder had wound up finding the fire rod just a bit before you. Not by much. Very, very close race, all in all. To go that far in 6 crystals before anyone has any sort of a clear lead is a race for both runners to be infinitely proud of.
So I joined the tournament to learn to have fun, and this was clearly the case, this race.
You know what? I feel great hearing that you're here to enjoy yourself and have a good time with it. What do you feel like was the single most important point for you in the seed? Whether it be an item that you found or something that you felt was going to be the biggest help for you?
For me personally, it was early on in Hera that I got the feeling, okay, this run is going much better than expected. This can be a pretty good time if this keeps going. I forgot what I found there.
Oh, I must ask, too, one of the more difficult questions. Some of the people in the chat were concerned that might have become a little bit frustrated during the Ganon fight, dying a couple of times. And I just want to know how you were handling that, because once you finally got back in with several of the potions, you nailed it. Even finishing him off with a double silver arrow hit.
The first death, I was not frustrated at all. It was completely okay. The second time I was a bit frustrated about myself because I could have made a better choice there, in my opinion. But
Okay.
I'm used to running tournaments pretty early. Did the same for Shovel Knight. Now with the rando. So I'm used to making mistakes that others may say are stupid or get you frustrated. And it's not for me, because I know I can get better there.
Perfect.
I just have to learn a lot.
That's a great attitude to have.
That's a great attitude.
Subsequently, I'd like to ask then, if you feel like there may have been mistakes in that caliber, what do you feel like was your biggest thing to learn from in this race?
In this race, well, overall movement is the thing I'm working on right now.
That may be the single biggest thing anybody should work on. That's, of course, a quintessential part of the game.
Yeah. But
And
I
it
know
comes with
that
experience.
Absolutely. The more you play, the better you get. I have to say, your boss strategies, for one thing, were great. You did a very good job in your dungeons.
Thanks.
Anything you'd like to point out or share between you, MrWunder? Any other races coming up on this channel for the night? I don't believe so, but I could be wrong.
Well, I'll never forget Dark World Death Mountain again.
Yes, that was another point. DarkCucco, you guys both had the Titan's Mitt, the Moon Pearl, and the Hookshot after finishing Hera. Did it cross your mind at all to go and check the Dark Death Mountain afterward on the east?
I had the idea to do that, but I decided to go for the crystals instead. So I
Sure.
actively decided against
That's
going to East Death Mountain.
That's actually a fantastic idea, though. It's a common thought that as soon as you have the items available to grab a crystal dungeon, it's a very good thing to go and get that out of the way. You may find other items there that you need, but at the very least you have a crystal.
Yeah. And at that time, I knew I could defeat Ice Palace because I had bombers,
Mm-hmm.
and only forest was the problem. Yeah, no fire rod. Okay.
Of course. I was wondering when either one of you might have gone to the Ice Palace, since Half Magic wasn't found terribly early, and with only having the Bamos Medallion and single magic, that can be a very intimidating dungeon.
That was my thought. That's why it took me so long to go to Ice Palace. Ice Palace is just so slow and so tedious when you don't have the ice or the fire rod, and you are still looking for items. It just takes so long.
Well, especially with random prize packs, there's no guaranteed magic drops.
So it's very
Yeah.
risky.
All things to consider. Lastly, and on similar notes, knowing that Turtle Rock was a pendant dungeon, did either one of you consider that with Fire Rod being required for Turtle Rock, the Fire Rod could not be in the Master Sword pedestal?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
This is the same thing that happened to me last night when I raced. I didn't have the fire rod, and Skull Woods was a pendant dungeon, so I knew there was no way that it could be in the pedestal.
Sure, okay, so you had a direct experience with this just the
Yep.
other day.
Same
there
thing
you
as
go.
last night. Very similar seed to last night, actually.
There's certain things that'll stick in your mind from seed to seed.
Oh, absolutely.
That's for sure.
You will be haunted every day by forgetting
I
something.
And I think I talked to you about this, or to someone else, not even a day ago, that if Fire Rod is in a place that requires Fire Rod, if you need Fire Rod for a place that is a pendant, it can't be the Master Sword pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And that was the same thing in this seed with the case
Yeah.
of the Big Bomb and the Fat Fairy.
Yep.
Needing crystal from Skull Woods in order to even get it.
So that cut out that location as well, saving more
Exactly.
time.
I mean, it's good to keep those things in mind when you're able to. It's tough, but
It's a little frustrating knowing that the very last place that I checked and had the fire rod, my next hope was just to go into Skullwoods.
yeah. Now, this may seem a little bit backwards, considering that you had checked so many places, but did you ever feel at any point like you were lost or out of options?
Not in this seed, no. I knew exactly where I had to go at all times.
Not out of options, no. Was the last resort, but I knew here I had to have something I need.
And that's a good
Anything.
thing. I would commend you both on. Neither one of you ever stopped moving, whether it was to go and find a single green rupee somewhere. You always had an idea in your mind, and that's one of the most important things when you're playing these random seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had that problem before pod. I noticed, not enough cash.
Yes.
And with that, yeah, okay, if I go to the chess game in the village, I get 100.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
This
I
is
thought
all
that was
need.
I thought that was very smart of you to go ahead and do that, and then take care of Thieves Town while you were right there.
Oh yeah, I also had to deal with Thieves Town. Yeah.
Mhm. That was a fantastic backup idea, though, since you couldn't do
Great
the dual
recovery.
Palace of Darkness, Eastern Palace.
That's how I was feeling
Yeah.
when I got to the 1 hour mark and I still had no crystals. I was like, all right, it's time to get it in gear. So I went and I thought like of which two dungeons were really close together. So I went and did Palace of Darkness, and as soon as I finished that, I mirrored and did the Eastern. And then I did the same thing with Desert and Mire.
Always good to get those 1-2 punches in.
Mm-hmm. Picked up 4 crystals in like 8 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Saved
once
a lot of
you
time.
had the ability, it was very much a dungeon rush right up until the time to find that fire rod.
Mm-hmm.
Always a good thing. Aaron, any questions? Anything you'd like to add or chime in with?
Yeah, one thing I was curious. We saw you, DarkCucco, stop for about 15 seconds or so in the Ice Palace.
In the big chest room.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What was going through your head at that point?
Through my head was going, why is my controller not responding?
Oh,
no. Yeah, we saw some
But,
speculation in the chat that might have been a hardware issue.
No, not even hardware issue, just a cable that was a bit loose.
I see.
Well, glad that was only a few seconds of an issue then, a fairly quick fix.
Yeah, I'm used to that. The cable comes loose from time to time. So it was, what? Oh no, not again. Yeah, okay.
Oh no.
Right. Right, well, quite an interesting way to start this race, too, with the technical issue. It was very interesting watching you do the game in half speed.
Yeah.
I was very
well-
confused.
We all were a little bit.
Yeah, very glad
fortunately-
that was resolved early instead of something happening an hour into the race.
Even though it was early on, only like 2 chests were checked. Fortunately, neither one of them had anything detrimental to strategy that might have given you guys some extra time to formulate a plan.
I thought about skipping the mirror shield. I really did. I really thought about skipping it.
Well, you were a good sport picking it up anyway.
Yeah, I figured that wouldn't be fair, so I just went for it.
Well, I knew it was there, but I wanted it.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
important
helpful
to have
item.
Yeah, it
You know,
is.
it's especially helpful. You didn't have to go into Turtle Rock at all, but it's especially helpful against those red mimics.
Red mimics. Oh, I get you. Okay, I thought you were gonna say the lasers.
No, the red mimics. You know exactly what those are.
Yeah.
For your knowledge as well, MrWunder, you will be given the time that your stream represented, just because of the race bot issue.
The 146.36.
Yes,
Cool. I do have a question.
of course.
What was my? Oh yeah. Am I the first person in the tournament to have 2 wins?
That I don't know.
I'm
That
just
is a
rushing
good
through all my
question.
races, and I'm just really curious. Doesn't really matter. Just
I can check the bracket quick.
if you would. I'm just
Not
curious.
sure how quickly everything's been updated.
If everything is up to date, it appears that yes, no one has got 2 wins yet, so you would be the first.
Okay. Cool. I gotta say, the times were very, very close.
Yeah, you guys were not that far apart.
All it would have taken is if Cucco went to Dark World Death Mountain before me.
That
And
certainly would
that's-
have evened things up.
So frequently how these things go. I've said it so many times. Everybody might be tired of hearing me say it, but I can't think of a more true way to put it. You guys can be neck and neck. MrWunder, you go right. DarkCucco, you go left, and one of you just happens to find the required item. It's pure chance. There's nothing wrong with the routing. You guys were routing this beautifully. One person
Well-
just happened to check something a little bit sooner than someone else.
Let's not forget we both had all the items for Dark World Death Mountain on Death Mountain and left.
That is true.
I
I bet you won't ever do that again, either one of you.
Never.
It was basically one item up there that we really needed.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a very easy thing to overlook it too, though, because as soon as you got into the Dark Kakariko area, you wound up finding the bow very quickly. That opened up a lot. You were pretty much able to go in Dungeon Rush. It would have been pretty easy to kind of have it lose sight in your mind.
Yeah, and right after the bow, the silver arrows.
Yes.
Also,
Great find.
moment. Okay, now I can beat this and this. Okay,
It felt good to find
I'm
that
set
bow.
for 3 bosses.
Mm-hmm.
I think, in my preference, the bow might be my single favorite item to find.
Me too.
Because I know that there's just so much you can do with it. Bow and the hook shot.
the bow,
Hookshot.
hook shot, hammer, and boots are my favorite. Still can't believe the boots were in the vanilla location.
Things like that do happen.
Oh, it sucked. How
As
early
we
did
see.
you check Sahasrara? Cucco.
How early? I went there, I think, fairly early.
I believe DarkCucco had them before you.
That
I
is
don't
correct.
recall exactly how much.
Because that was at the time where I didn't have enough rupees to open up pot.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the village and I decided, okay, if I'm here, I can look what he has for me.
Yes.
And turns out boots.
I couldn't believe it. I almost cried.
I know. Of all the items to be in their vanilla spots, that's one of the more difficult ones, I think.
That is true. I would give that absolute credit, honestly. Interesting, though, that even though it wasn't required, neither one, rather, we did not see the Ice Rot or Quake anywhere. Usually they at least pop up somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing they were either in Turtle Rock or in the rest of the Hookshot Cave on Death Mountain.
Could have been either one. Then there
Because
was
those
still a
are-
decent amount of, well, not too much, I guess, but the entire right side of Ganon's tower went unchecked.
Yep. And Swamp.
Swamp, yeah,
Oh,
I
yes.
wasn't to Swamp either.
The whopping 6 items in Swamp, yeah, both of them could have been there.
That would have been my next place to check if it wasn't on the fire rod wasn't on East Death Mountain. Go to Swamp.
That seems like it would have been the smart move at that point.
With the 6 items, of course. It's almost required.
Yeah, 6 items in there, and I happen to like the place. It's fairly quick to get the first items.
Interesting point from Nemesis in the chat. None of the matches that we've seen have been boring by any means. None of the seeds have had any sort of mundane item placement. Everything's been really exciting so far. I'm glad that a lot of people have really been enjoying so much of the tournament. And there's a lot left.
Yes, but I believe this is the last race we have for tonight. The next one is scheduled for tomorrow morning.
I believe about another 9 hours away from now, maybe a little bit more. I do not have the schedule up in front of me.
I believe there's a more randomizer. There's a practice randomizer race going on right now.
Oh. Yes, it seems 10 a.m. We have a race between DarkCucco and Elminster. And that, according to our schedule, will be on the Speed Gaming channel. So right where you're at right now, about 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I don't personally have any other questions for you guys. Is there anything else you want to chime in with? Or?
That's all for me.
Yeah,
Alright.
for me too.
Okay.
Oh, MrWunder, DarkCucco, fantastic races. Everybody that's hanging out, please go give these guys a follow. Check them out. They're clearly very skilled at the game. And they seem like fantastic people.
Thanks, DT.
I am
Yes,
in the name of DT, along with Aaron Doby. I said it right that time. There we go.
That's correct.
All right. It's been a ton of fun hosting you guys here.
I appreciate it.
Same
Fun.
here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
And a very good night to everybody.
You too.